Thank you for listening today on Revealing Wholeness, sponsored by Infinity Whole Health. Check out our website at infinityWholeHealth.com, where we are revealing the eternal in each individual, the infinite in the individual. The creativity is made manifest. Limitation is let go. Now, here's your host, Dr. Troy Munson.
Hello and welcome. I'm Dr. Troy Munson on Revealing Wholeness. And I talk to so many people that are so confused right now. And here we are in the beginning of June in quarantine, and we're starting this phase 2 and whatever's happening in your area. Maybe you're somewhere in part of the world where they were wise and said, we're not going to let this change our life one bit because it shouldn't and it won't. If you're one of those people, great. If you're not and you're in this area where you're trying to decipher truth, what's true and what's not true, how much fear should I be concerned about, or should I even be afraid? And so I want to unpack the truth a little bit differently with you today in the 5 things about you. And if you can, I would say I'm going to give you some pauses throughout this podcast to go and pause it or to stop it and to do a little bit of writing. Not a lot, just a little. And this is going to tell you things about you that become very important. So the first thing I'm going to have you do is grab a piece of paper and a pen, and I'm going to have you write 5 things about you, like if you were going to tell me something about yourself. So I'm going to pause here. Okay, great. And so you've got your paper and your pen, and you've written 5 things about you. Just 1 through 5, this, that. I'm going to do a bonus with you as well. I also want you to pause now and write, what would you do if you got $10 million tax-free, totally invested? You got a fantastic investment. It's 10% return. You're making almost $10,000 a month, and you'll be doing that for the rest of your life. What would you do with that $10,000 a month? Okay, hopefully you've written that down too. Now, if you're like in the car and you're thinking, I'll just do this later, you're gonna miss out on some things, because I'm gonna do a punchline at the end of this that I want to really have it hit you home. And so do put your name on the top of this, because this is about you. And so if you've done all that, then let's talk about truth. What is true? Now, you may have heard it said that what's true for you is not necessarily true for me. And that's absolutely true. And so we have all these beliefs running around in our head. And as we look at things, we have this filter that we filter everything through. And some people, their filter is a bit more skewed, or maybe we do have a skewed filter and we know it, but we can't stop our reactivity. And so it takes getting into our mind and starting to do the real work. If you're out there and you've gone to, let's say you've heard a really great speaker, inspirational, you thought, wow, that was so amazing to hear. And 2 days later, did it really change your life? No, it probably didn't. Maybe it did. Maybe it did a little bit. Maybe you thought about it. Maybe you're a writer-downer of things, and you actually studied and you did some work and you actually started changing your life a little bit. Then good for you. Now, I know people that sit in church every Sunday and they're not changed at all. They say, what a great message. You'll ask them the next day, what was that message about? And they'll be like, it was about salvation, I think. You know, they'll be kind of, I don't remember, but it was a great message. And you know, I love a great speaker just like the next person, and some people do really change me. And so most of us, though, we're going to have to do the work in order to change ourselves, and that's even if you want to change. So maybe you started listening to this, and even if you're with me, you're just like, I'm not writing anything down. That's fine. You don't have to. You don't have to change. You can stay as you are if you're happy with staying as you are. But at this point, I've given you 5 things that you can literally look at that are now beliefs about you when you wrote down what you are, when I ask you to tell me about who you are. And so let's say you wrote down something about your height or your weight or your hair color or your eye color or your age. Let's say you wrote something down about your family. Let's say you wrote something down about recreation. I'm a golfer. Or I'm a volleyball player, I'm a fisher, or I'm a book reader, or whatever. Maybe you wrote something about your occupation. I'm a plumber, or I'm a housewife, or I'm a chef, or whatever it is that you wrote down. And then let's say that you wrote down something like, I'm a go-getter. I'm honest. I'm whatever. I have integrity. You could have written all these things down. Now, all these things are not necessarily true. Now, they might be true for your body right now. Let's say that I wrote down that I'm 6 foot. Well, I could cut my legs off and I'm no longer 6 foot tall. So is it really true? No, it happens to be true right now, but it's not really true. Because truth that is true stands the test of time. That's really true. And so we could say, is a virus deadly? Nope, it isn't. Now, if you're already killing yourself with a poor diet and poor mental attitude, then, it might finish you off, but you already did the hard work. But what if God says, you know what, tomorrow is your last day. It doesn't matter if there's a virus or not. It doesn't matter how much kale you eat. Your time is done tomorrow. And so that is true. And so I want you to start realizing that we put a lot of faith in things that have no business having any faith whatsoever. So how do we begin to undo some of these things? By looking at this list of 5 things, I could have said, hey, let's do 20 things. Let's push you a little bit and see what your beliefs are. And you're welcome to do that, is to say, okay, well, let me write 10 things I believe about myself. And when we get into these beliefs, it kind of, I'm a football fan, or I'm a Seahawks fan, or I'm a Raiders fan, or, I'm a Mariners fan because we're in Seattle. All these things are almost irrelevant. If we transplant you somewhere else, you'll eventually become that fan. But I want you to kind of see that we can soften our approach and our mind and not let our mind so much take us away like so many people's have over the last 8 weeks. I mean, the division in people has gotten greater in some ways, but I'm watching this light start to spread in our society as well, as we also grow closer because of the adversity. I haven't really gotten to know any of my neighbors, but it's weird. I now have met and talked with 6 of them. And I call that a win. I now know them and they know me. And the world got a little smaller in just my own neighborhood, weirdly enough. And so I want to now approach the last question. If you got $10 million, you're making at least $10,000 every month. You don't have to do anything. I mean, most of us could live on $10,000 a month, I think, quite comfortably and quite well. We could literally do just about anything we want, probably, if we're creative enough. But that to say, what would you do? Now, I've had all kinds of people answer this question. I would dump my spouse and I would go get somebody else. I would quit my job and go get another one. Or I would move out of my house and go to another place. I would buy my child a car. I would buy my mom a house, or whatever it is that they would do. I would give to charity. I've heard everything. And so with that kind of tells you your belief too of what you believed. Now, some of you that would like to give gifts to people, the question is, especially if you're a believer, if you realize that there is a God and that He is one with you and that He owns everything and that He can give to anybody that asks, that if you really want to give somebody something, what's stopping you? You might say money, but I would say your dad has a really big bank account. And I think you could do it if you got creative enough. And I think He'll help you with that. And so I want to kind of maybe nudge you in an area that stretches you faith-wise to expand, to get out there, to give, to challenge yourself. For those of you that feel like, I would dump this or change that or whatever, I'll ask you the same question. What are you waiting for? Why not yet? And whatever answer comes up, that's a belief that you have now cherished inside your mind and you have put ahead of your own happiness. And that's not a great thing to put in front of you. That I would have you shred up and throw behind you and start moving toward what it is that you want to change about you or your situation or whatever. And ultimately, I'm going to give you a little bit of insight. If it is a spouse that you would love to change, you know what? There's 2 of you. You're half the problem. I get it. I've had many more failed relationships than I've had successful. If you're in a successful relationship right now, how many failed relationships did you have up to this one? You're probably like me. You were the problem, so was I. I get it. I'm not going to beat around the bush with myself or you. Life is short. Go have fun. Go be happy. But if you think another person is going to make you happy, I have another thing coming. It is you that makes you happy or not happy. It's all about you. And it should be about you. And so if those are some beliefs that you've now cherished, I want to open those up and let's look at them, stare at them, and really, with a new eye, see the truth around what it is your situation is. Now, if you're very caring and loving and compassionate to your spouse and they're really awful and mean and cruel, it may be time to definitely eject that relationship. But for most of us, when it's just the daily I'm unhappy with them, a lot of times it's because we're unhappy. And we start really looking at that other person with love and care and joy and seeing the beauty in them and start really working on that relationship, which is also very much working on us. Now we have change that is much more complete. In fact, I tell people, I said, you know what, this is your practice relationship. Do what you would do to the person that you were totally, madly in love with, that was perfect for you, and you would do everything that you could possibly do for them. Work hard at that. Even though they're not your ideal, this is your practice relationship. Get good at it, because when the right person comes around, don't screw it up. And so if you find yourself now in a practice relationship, make it good, make it right. You may find that this is actually a really good thing. And so for those of you that want a little something extra, if you put your name at the top of the list, I want you to know that the Spirit speaks to you. And this is how I know, because the Spirit told you the other name for the Son of God, and you wrote it on the top of your paper, because it is you, and it is me, and it is us. And there's only one person on this planet, and it's all of us. And it's time that we start seeing it a little bit better that way, so that we don't keep acknowledging the division that the powers that are at the head of this world would like to do, which is separation, and start getting us to really become unified, because that is truly heaven on earth. So, until next time, I'm Dr. Troy Munson on Revealing Wholeness.
Thanks for listening. If you have any questions or comments, you can reach Dr. Munson at 360-893-8586 or email him at chiroman@dr.com. That's chiroman@dr.com. Check out our current workshop schedule on Facebook at Infinity Whole Health.